record on. There we go. Hi, everybody. This is Ed Dose from St. Vitus Studios in Seattle, Washington. And today we're talking to Hopper Stone, and who's a unit photography individual that's just outstanding. This is the reason why we're talking to him today. He's a unit photographer for TVs and features. We're going to talk to him about how he got started, a little bit, because that's been done quite a bit on a lot of other videos. I want to talk about some stories that he's got from different films and things like that. And also want to talk about John Whitman. No.
Hey, Johnny.
So please introduce yourself and tell us what you think your position is in the world, and what you do in films and TVs.
Wow, my position in the world.
Your position in the world.
My name is Hopper Stone. Like Edward said, I'm a unit still photographer for movies and TV. And, it's a weird job in that, my job is to take photographs that help sell movies and TV shows. I mean, it's this very weird niche within photography.
Right.
The way I see it is, we don't cure cancer, but there are people out there who are trying to cure cancer, and they sometimes like to be entertained. And so we do our part to help them unplug.
Right.
That's like
help everybody in the world take a little vacation from what their life is. Yeah, that's
exactly.
That's what I love about films and TV. It's almost like a mini vacation where you just kind of, and if it's a good film, you just disappear into it. And
yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe you might be a little bit of the same way, because I've heard some of the interviews, but when you're taking photographs of the films and TV, you kind of disappear into what you're doing and what's going on. Because I heard that you don't like taking dramas, like 12 years, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have a drama that's very serious and downtrodden kind of feeling, you almost kind of accept that onto your shoulders. And it's no longer a vacation. It's more like, oh my God, it's you walk away from it thinking, yeah, I got this heavy feeling on my head. So you like taking pictures of comedies, and things like that, and action series.
Yeah, I do a lot of comedy and action. The thing about dramas, it can bleed over. It depends very much. Honestly, it sort of trickles down from the top. Sometimes, you get actors and directors who are able to sort of separate, the art from the reality. And I mean, I heard, I didn't work on it, but I heard, for example, that Breaking Bad was a very light-hearted set, and a lot of just, good times and kind of joking around and laughing. And then they would, call action, and then it became Breaking Bad.
Right.
I've worked on dramas where, the actors can just kind of go in and out of it. And those are, kind of fun. Like, yeah, you're observing this sort of great dramatic moment, but then it doesn't always just hang over you the whole time.
Right.
Then I've also been on some where it's just, they want to keep that mood throughout the entire shoot.
Right.
And some people thrive in that environment and some people do not. And it's not my favorite way of, it's not my favorite way of doing things.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine that method actors are hard to work, not to work with, but to be around in a dramatic sense, because they're always down, like Joaquin in The Joker, or I can't think of his name, but
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it's like,
yes, it depends. Yes and no. Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but I mean, I did one with a sort of notorious method actor, but his character was actually kind of a little on the happy-go-lucky side, so he was a little easier to work with.
Right.
It really depends very much. And some method actors are disturbed by everything, and some are disturbed by nothing.
Right.
So they're in it and all that, but they just don't see everything that's around them. So in that sense, sometimes it's super easy.
Yeah.
Because they're just so wrapped up in their own world.
Right. I've been in quite a few movies, I think about 35 by now, but as an extra. And sometimes the actors are very nice to get along with, and sometimes they're just like tunnel vision, and that's it. And I've been around, music and entertainment my whole life. So it's, that look in their eye,
Right.
that, okay, don't just leave them alone. They're in their zone, and just, relax and walk away. But
I mean, one of the key skills in my job is knowing how to read the room.
oh yeah. Empathetic, I think. Yeah. And exactly. So tell us a few of the films. I don't want to keep you too long, so I just want to touch on a couple things. Tell us some of your favorite films that you've worked on, and then we'll go on to Major Lawrence in the desert that you just came back from.
So the movie that I'm hands down most proud of to have worked on, to be associated with, is Hidden Figures.
Oh, good.
It was a great story. It was a great script. The director was just like this kind of mad genius,
right?
Who, didn't always quite understand what he was going for, but then I halfway through, he saw it as sort of like a rough cut and a sizzle reel, and we're like, oh, okay, we're making a great movie.
Yeah.
And the all of the actors were just stellar to work with.
Oh, good.
And the production design was amazing, and the lighting was beautiful, and it was this period piece. And this is one of these things where, as a unit photographer, I kind of feel I'm getting away with it, because there's just all this stuff. Right. And it's right there, and also, like, they shot it on film.
Oh, nice.
So, right. Well, but I was shooting digital. I was shooting with the A7S, which basically sees in the dark.
Right.
So one day the DP, who was Australian, she comes up to me, she goes, sorry, mate, not a lot of light in here. And I'm like, yeah, not for you.
Yeah.
I think on that, I don't think I ever went above 1600 ISO on that one.
Nice.
It was because they were lighting for 320 or 500.
Right.
And so Hidden Figures is just will always have like this sort of place in my heart.
Right.
As just an amazing thing to work on. I've done 7 movies with Melissa McCarthy. I will do anything with her anytime. She's just a fun, person to work with, and she brings fun people around. So that's just always a good time working with Melissa.
Yeah, she seems like
the
a very
other movie that
person.
Oh, she's people go, what's Melissa like? And go, she is exactly who you think she is and who you want her to be. Just absolutely lovely. And the movie that honestly stands out as just one of the things that I had a blast on was An American Pickle.
Oh, really?
With Seth Rogen. Okay. It was like 40 something days in Pittsburgh in the winter. You were a combination of cold, wet, or muddy the entire time. Let's put it this way. We had 2 days of actual climate controlled location. And keep in mind, we shot on stage for probably 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And there was just no climate control on stage. It was just, you were just cold or wet or muddy the entire time. But it was, I can't explain it. It was just a blast. Pittsburgh is an amazing place to shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Really great people. You know how a lot of cities sometimes, people are really into that city, and that's often code for, this is a terrible place, so we're going to kind of overcompensate by being super proud of it.
Right.
No, Pittsburgh is an amazing place.
Right.
With like this, like, school spirit kind of. feel
Right.
about it. So it was a great place to shoot. It was a fun place to hang out. And, when you're cold, weather, muddy, it's like, well, Seth Rogen's not going to complain about it. I'm not
Right.
going to complain about it. And it was really just a cool group of people, a very fun, quirky, offbeat movie. And that was one of those movies where I got up in the morning, I just couldn't wait to go to work.
Oh, nice. Let's call it
Yeah, it
Greenland.
was really
Yeah.
fun. What's that?
Let's call it Greenland so everybody will want to come.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I live in Seattle, so I'm not used to it yet. I've lived here for 5 years, so I'm not used to being cold and wet constantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
Right.
getting used to it. Today it's like 30 degrees, and I'm living in a cloud apparently. So it's yeah,
Right.
it's something to get used to. But I've lived all over the country, and this is one of the most beautiful places I think I've lived is out here in Seattle area.
Oh,
Um,
Seattle's gorgeous.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous if you get out and go explore what you're looking at. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you just came back from Saudi Arabia, and I saw some of the pictures, and one of my favorite films, what attracts you to the desert, Major Lawrence? I like
Right.
it because it's clean, and that's what I kept seeing when I saw the pictures. So tell us what you were doing over there, and so forth.
Yeah. So I was working on a movie that right now is called Kandahar, but they're probably gonna change the name. It's the same director who did Greenland and Shot Caller and National Champions, a guy named Rick Roman Waugh, who's
Wow.
also kind of a mad genius.
Right.
And yeah, I got this. Another unit photographer in Australia texted me and he goes, "You know anybody who wants to go do an action movie in Saudi Arabia?" And I'm like, "That would be me."
Yeah, no kidding.
And,
Hello.
and yes, exactly. And
Well, you disappeared for a little bit.
a week ago, and I'm
Oh, there you
still because common question, how is Saudi Arabia? And I'm trying to find adjectives because here's the thing. First of all, half the fun of making a movie in Saudi Arabia is figuring out how to make a movie in Saudi Arabia.
go. Right.
We were the second international production to shoot there, and the first one in the town where we were shooting.
Wow.
We had crew from literally all over the world. Like most of our camera department was Spanish. One of our dolly grips was from Morocco. One of our costumes from Italy. Our catering was from Jordan. A lot of Brits, a lot of Aussies, some South Africans. I mean, just people from all over the place
Wow.
coming together in a country with zero filmmaking infrastructure. I mean, none. Our stage was a warehouse,
Oh my God. Yeah.
and we only shot on stage for a few days. It was all locations. And shooting in the desert is its own set of challenges.
I'm
I,
sure.
I just sent my gear into the Sony repair facility,
Yeah.
to be serviced and cleaned and all of that. And the director of the facility called me and said, "Your cameras are disgusting." And I said, "I told you," because it wasn't just this working in the sand, which we did a lot,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of pyro.
Wow.
Like we blew a lot of stuff up. So there's there's a lot of dust in that pyro.
Oh
It wasn't
yeah.
just flames and gasoline, it was a lot of dust. Because if something, if a mortar hits the ground in the desert, it blows up a lot of sand and dirt. So we had a lot of just special effects sand
Right.
and dust. And I mean, it just got everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Um,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
No,
I
it
just
was a crazy experience, but I mean, when I retire, this is gonna be one of the movies I talk about.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I just took a model out to the sand dunes out here in Eastern Washington, and
Mhm.
she was standing on top of the sand dune, and I was down below shooting her, and I said, "Okay, kick the sand at me," because I wanted, like the
Yeah.
sand coming at me in a shot, and she covered me and the camera in sand. But you have to stay and get the shot, but you're going to be covered in sand. and
Yeah.
you're also shooting video at the same time, and it's hilarious because she kicks the sand at me, and the video shows her kicking the sand at me, covering me with sand, and then she turns around and goes like this for the
Gives you
video.
her
Like,
best blue steel.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. It was hilarious. It really, really very funny. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, when you get I know you've talked about Finland and Rome and some of the things that you went into gradually as an artisan, not an artist, um, and slowly moved into that genre of your work. What kind of things did you find that were um, holding you back, or how did you overcome those problems? Because these interviews are to help people overcome. Right now, it's COVID, but to get overcome their difficulties and things like that, and bumps in the road. So how
I'll
did
let
you
you
go
know when
about
I'll let you know when I figure it out.
that?
Um, no, here's the thing, and a lot of photographers won't admit this, and I'm not saying that everybody's this way or most people are this way or whatever, but I don't have a lot of confidence.
Okay.
I just don't. It's
Right.
and I've become okay with the fact that I don't have a lot of confidence. Um, I I have severe like imposter syndrome. Every movie that I start, and this is not false humility. This is not me. This is true. Anybody who knows me when I work on a movie knows this. I start every movie with that voice in my head going, "Well, it's been a good run,
Yeah.
and but this is the one. They're gonna
Right.
figure it out. I got no idea what I'm doing,
Right. And everybody's
and
gonna know. Yeah.
yeah, and everyone's gonna know." And I keep getting away with it. And then, I'll show a shot and go, "That's amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, I got lucky,"
Right.
or well, it was easy, it was right there,
Right.
whatever. That is something that I have kind of constantly throughout my career had to wrestle with, and probably for the rest of, for the rest of my career.
Right.
So for those of you who are wondering, like, "Oh, am I good enough?" I'm like, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but just just keep at it. I mean,
Right.
if it's what you want to do, just keep at it. I that's been like the hardest thing,
Yeah.
because I'm not great at self promotion and at selling myself. I'm not a great schmoozer.
Right.
I think the reason Melissa McCarthy hires me is because I don't really talk to her.
Right.
The first movie I did with her, I honestly thought she didn't really like me.
Oh no.
And
Yeah,
I'm
that
just
inner
like, "Oh,
voice is
whatever, you
killer,
can't."
isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Just I was just the local hire in Atlanta with a good comedy resume. So, and I got a lot of side eye from her,
Yeah.
sort of throughout. She never shut me down. She never told me not to shoot. She never even told me what to shoot. But I always got a lot of that kind of like, that side eye sort of thing. And
Right.
I'm like, "Ugh, whatever, you can't please everybody."
Right.
And, pre-COVID, we would have rap parties.
Yeah.
And with the still photographers often asked to do like a slideshow for the wrap party. So I did a slideshow. And when I do a slideshow, I put work into it. I color correct everything, and I, make sure it's pretty. And I walked into the bar where it was, and Melissa and her husband who directed the movie, Ben. Ben and Melissa were like staring at the monitors. I went up and I said hi. And they literally just kept doing this. Like, look at the monitor, looking back at me, look at the monitor, looking back at me, because I didn't talk to them, and I don't really make a big deal out of myself on set. I'm like,
Right.
whatever, just do my thing.
Yeah.
And I think they just put two and two together. It's like, oh, here's someone who we literally don't notice,
Right.
who gives us this. Great, we're just going to keep hiring him. And that's what it is. It's not.
Yeah, that's part of your
And
job.
look,
Yeah.
there's some photographers who are like, they're great schmoozers, and they know how to work the room, and that works for them.
Right.
But I think maybe getting back to what held me back along the way, that may be one of the things, is that I couldn't fake confidence.
Right.
And I'm not saying that one should, because I think it's obvious when one is faking confidence.
Yeah. I think
But
you and
that's
I
something,
are,
and I still wrestle with that all the time.
yeah. I think you and I are a lot alike in that position because people ask me all the time, I do portrait photography and rock photography, and people ask me, how did you get that shot? And can I come learn from you? And I'm like, I just point and shoot,
Right.
and I know there's more to it. I understand that there's more to it, but it's something, I've been doing this on and off for 35 years. And
Right.
for me to not think about something is not me not thinking. It's just me doing something that's natural to me. And I
Right.
don't see what the big issue is about, okay, you take this photograph and it looks fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. But I just pointed the camera and took the picture, you know. Um,
Right.
and my history in the rock and roll business is don't be seen. Just
Right.
do your thing, don't be seen. And I've done a couple movies and shot for a few films and videos and things like that. And your job is to be the fly on the wall. And that's the
Yeah.
way I
Getting it out.
approach it. Yeah, and that's the way I approach it. I don't bother people. I just do my thing and let them do their thing. And my job
Mhm.
is just to be the fly on the wall. And that's
Right.
I love doing it. So when you do the films and you shoot for the films, you shoot in digital right now. You used to be
Yeah.
in film or film photography, but now it's all
Yeah.
digital. So do you edit your own photographs or do you have someone else do that? Do you have a say in the way that's done? How does that
When you
work?
when you say edit, see, old folk like me, when we say edit, we literally mean what to keep and what to throw away.
Well, I mean,
That's in my world, that's editing.
yeah,
So yes, I do that. I don't do a lot of color correcting.
okay,
I be for several reasons. First of all, there just are not enough hours in the day.
right, right, especially
The
with how much.
studios have entire departments, and there are digital labs whose literal job it is to do that. Technically, it is also a union violation for me to do that.
That's right.
The lab, if it's a union lab, they're in local 700.
That's
There are
their
people
job.
like that's their job.
Yeah, yeah.
It's some do, some don't, whatever. I will sometimes set a look, like, oh, this is what it's supposed to look like, just so they have a rough idea. But
Okay.
I can't go. I mean, if I'm turning in, 200 photos a day, and that's whittled down from the
Yeah.
800 to 1200 that I've shot.
Right.
There just aren't enough hours in the day
Right. Right.
for
Right. Right.
for me to do that. I can't.
Yeah.
You're looking at 10 to 12, sometimes 14 hours a day on set.
Right.
And maybe there's time throughout the day to go, download stuff, put it on your computer and go through it.
Right.
But for example, on Kandahar, what I just did, there was physically not a place for me to like leave a computer. I was working out of the back of a car,
Yeah. So there's
and I mean,
no way to do it.
there was
Right.
no place for me to leave a computer,
Right. Yeah. I
so
I do.
editing became a bit of an issue.
Yeah. I do portraits. Usually I shoot once a day for 2 or 3 hours and then I edit and then send it off to them. And everybody's like, what? I'm getting these tonight. And it's like, yeah, if I don't get them to you tonight, then I'm going to get backloaded because I shoot every single day and I have to get them in. And the color
Right.
coding, I do very, very light color changes and things like that. I
Yeah.
don't like messing with that. I try to
Yeah. You
do
make it pretty.
yeah, I try to do everything in studio. So when I'm uploading 500 pictures and whittle it down to 150 or 120 pictures, it makes it go through very fast for me because I don't do a lot of corrections in the film.
Right.
I might, crop it different or something like that, but that's really pretty much
Well,
all
especially if
I
you're
do.
doing it in studio and your lighting is consistent.
Right,
It's not like each one, that's the thing on set is sometimes, the lighting is consistent, which is
right,
great. So, you fix one, you just go through all of it. But then, for example, on Kandahar or out in the desert, first of all, just the amount of dust in the air,
Yeah.
like the dehaze filter, the
Right.
dehaze slider in Lightroom has become like my best friend. Just the pure amount of haze. And also the thing about movies is DPs love their backlight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
of course we don't.
Right.
I mean, it always looks good, but it's a pain in the neck to shoot with,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there were entire days where I was like, I have no idea if anything I'm shooting is usable.
Right.
Because
Right.
it's so much backlight and so much glare.
Yeah.
And the viewfinders and the screens don't really give you a great idea.
No. No.
That's
No.
what's
No.
going on. And you're just kind of, with your exposure, you're just kind of going,
Yeah.
see which way the wind blows.
Right. Right.
And like I said, I just keep getting lucky.
Yeah.
But back to what we were talking about before in terms of people's reaction, like, oh, it's a great photo, and you and I just kind of go, oh. I think, okay, I will admit this. One of the things that just came easily to me, and I think it's just the way I'm wired, is
Yeah.
framing.
Yeah.
I never went to art school. I never like studied photography. And then I don't know, a couple of years ago, someone showed me something that's called the golden ratio.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It's this, which I still don't quite understand,
Right.
but apparently I just see that way.
Right. Yeah.
So that's just the luck of genetics. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm wired to see that way. So framing came easily,
Yeah.
and which is maybe sort of why how it's like if something's easy, you don't put as much value
Yeah.
on it.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
thus the lack of confidence. And then after that, it's just learning how to use a machine. I mean,
Right.
anybody can learn how to use a machine, pretty constantly. And I'm sure the same thing happens to you. People come up to me and go, hey, I really need to learn how to use my camera. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And I say, no, you don't need to learn how to use your camera. You need to learn how photography works. Because
Right.
once you understand how photography works, you can learn to use, how to use any camera.
Yeah. 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 It's amazing. You can take, there was an individual that I went down to Los Angeles to shoot, and there was 4 or 5 other photographers there. And the person was very well known. And the other photographers, and I was watching them, they would get up there and do their thing and shoot. And I was seeing what they were shooting, and I'm like, what kind of photographs are you
Yeah,
getting?
what is that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I would get up there, and I didn't talk to the individual. I just, I did my thing. And she noticed that my pictures were a little different because of the way I was doing things. And that's a comment that I get a lot is, how did you do that? How did you frame that? And I'm 3rd generation photographer. So what you're saying about being in your head without you even knowing it is something that I grew up with. So
Right.
when I see a picture, I take it, and the person next to me takes the same picture, and they're 2 completely different things. And I'm not saying that mine is any better than theirs or not, but from my point of view, I look at it and go, well, that captures the eye and just lets it, let your eye and your imagination flow all over the picture instead of boom, there it is.
Right.
And if it is a boom, there it is photograph, you need to, like a tunnel vision, where it starts
Exactly. It needs to,
and
your eye just needs to go right there. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's you, and I think you and I are a lot alike in a lot of different ways there. So
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely. It's like, and what I've told a lot of people who I've mentored several people along the way, I'm like, I don't want to hear one word of an explanation.
right.
I either get it or I don't.
Right.
And if you have to point out, oh, but there's this thing and blah blah blah, and I'm like, well, then
Then
you
didn't
shouldn't have to point that out. I mean,
right.
not that my eye is the be all do all end all, but people seem to respect my opinion, so I give
Right.
it to them.
Right. Yeah.
And the other thing is, what I tell people is, when you're getting up to bat, so to speak, when it's your turn to go shoot, I mean, the last thing you should actually be thinking about is photography.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Like, especially in my job, I mean, because you've got so many moving parts,
yeah.
and all of a sudden at the last second, they might bring in a stand, a light, the actor might say, hey, please don't stand there, whatever. So it's all about like being aware of your surroundings.
Right.
And the very last thing you should be thinking about is photography.
It's
That just needs
photography.
to kind of come
Yep.
automatically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny when I take pictures of rock, you see some of the rock pictures behind here.
Yeah.
And I take the photographs, but there are so many things that you have to pay attention to other than just the photography. You have to pay attention to the lighting, you have to pay attention to the way the singer is standing. You have to pay attention to the security guard that's standing right next to you and all the wires and all the crap that you can trip over while you're doing that. And at the same time, take the photograph. And
Yes.
yeah, the video.
And you only get what, 2 or 3 songs to do it.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. You only have 3 songs to do it unless the band has hired you and you get to, do the whole thing.
Sure.
But yeah, the videos that I've shot behind the scenes and stuff like that, like Roger Fisher's video that I just shot a couple weeks ago. You have to pay attention not to trip over the director or all the stands and all the wires and everything like that, but you're still trying to get the photograph. So yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's the last thing on your mind is, it's going to be there if and it's kind of instinct for me where I know what the camera is seeing when I'm holding the camera out.
Yeah.
I just know what it's looking at. So I'm paying attention to all this other stuff and you're just taking the pictures. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's so unusual that it's kind of cool to talk to someone who knows exactly what I'm thinking when I'm doing these kind of things. It's kind of neat.
We're not alone, man.
I'm not alone. The inner voice that you were talking about earlier too is something that I wrestle with quite a bit. And I think a lot of different actors and musicians think about the same thing, is the inner voice saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't, is somebody going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing? And, this song doesn't sound right, or I'm not acting the way I should act. And that inner voice is just killer. And because we're all artists.
But unfortunately, that's also what makes me try harder.
Right. Yep.
Like if I get cocky, that's when I actually mess up.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And you know who Mark Mann is, right? He told me he's a portrait photographer that does everybody. I wrote to him and I said, I don't know if I'm good enough to do these kind of things. And he said, that's why you're good at what you're doing, because you keep trying to evolve and keep trying to get better at what you're doing. And the day that you think, I've got it all, I'm good,
then you're done. Then you're done.
Yeah.
If you feel like there's no room for improvement,
then
you're done.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so glad I got to talk to you, because it's the same thing that's going through my head. So I'm absolutely, I don't care if anybody else gets anything from this video. This video has just expressly helped me out. I'm
glad I could help.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So what are
my side hustle as a therapist?
That's right. I got a couch. We'll just lay down and we'll talk about other things.
Yes.
So what are your plans? What's upcoming for you?
I'm starting another movie in a week. It's gonna be a little tired. Starting a movie for Sony called Harold and the Purple Crayon, based on the children's book.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're doing a full live action
nice.
Version of it. Yeah, no, it's a very sort of whimsical, fun script. Starting that on February 2nd. And that's for 2.5 months.
Wow.
And then I got a couple other things in the fire that I don't know yet. So we'll see. But the fact that I actually know what I'm doing for the next few months is that's in our business. That's security.
Yeah, exactly. For the next 2 months, I don't have to worry about finding another job. I'm hired. Yeah.
And there's a couple of things that I'll either be booked through July or booked through November. I'm not sure which.
Good. Yeah, because if you're not working, you're unemployed. So
Right. People think it's a vacation. I'm like, no, it's not a
no,
vacation.
not a vacation.
You're just unemployed.
Yeah, you're just hustling to try to get the next job.
Find your next
I would
job.
imagine
Exactly.
with your kind of record, there's not too much hustling going on.
There absolutely is.
Is there?
Absolutely there is. Yeah,
Right,
I'm just hustling. I'm just hustling in different circles.
right, right, right,
But
right.
all of us are like, look, I started in the movie industry in 1997. And I was the new kid on the block, and you sort of go to the back of the line and you work your way up little by little. And now well, let's put it this way. A couple of years ago, I found myself hustling against people like who were already at the top when I started.
Yeah,
And now a lot of those people have retired. So now it's like all of us who sort of came up together. It's like, well, we're still hustling
yeah,
against each other. No, and it's all fairly civil. I mean, we refer to, I have sort of my favorite group of what I call frenemies. I mean, one of my best friends is another unit photographer, and like we're always up for the same jobs.
oh, nice.
And he, if it's, and he beat me out for this big Amazon series. And it was a war series, and I'm like, I showed them photos of actual war. You showed them photo of Star Wars, and he got it. I mean, I tease him about it all the time, but it's all in good fun.
Right. So,
But no, I still have to put myself out there and hustle.
we'll have to
Absolutely.
hustle. Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who wanted to get into your line of business?
Here's what I say to anybody wanting to be a professional photographer in general.
Right.
It takes just as much work and just as much effort to build a business doing the kind of photography you want to do as it does to build a business doing the kind of photography that you don't want to do. So any area of photography you're going to go into and specialize in, make sure that it's what you actually really want to do.
Right.
Right? Don't start shooting weddings unless you really want to be a wedding photographer.
Right.
Right? And don't start shooting sports unless you really want to be a sports photographer, or portraits, or senior portraits, or baby pictures, whatever it is. Make sure it is something that you really, really want to do. The thing about being a set photographer is people only see the cool pictures and hear the cool stories.
Right.
It is hours and hours and hours of sitting around and waiting for something to happen.
Right.
Hours.
Yeah.
And it's a constant barrage of people telling you not to do your job.
Right.
And still you have to kind of break through and do it. It is not glamorous. It's not easy. It can be fun, and it's decently paid. We all make a nice, comfortable living. Downside is, I don't own any of my images.
Right.
Like I don't own them at all. Studio owns them. That's it. So when I retire, I'll shot, thousands and thousands of images that I don't own.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with that. I was never really one to to have an archive. It wasn't really, and I know some people make very handsome livings off their archives. In terms of, what somebody who wants to get into doing what I do, first of all, know how to tell a story in one frame.
Right.
Like I get approached a lot. And my first bit of homework, unless they already clearly have like a photojournalism background or something like that, I go, great, send me 5 images. Each one of them has to tell me a story, not 5 images to tell one story. Five images, each one tells one story. I don't care what the story is. It can be the story of the greatest peanut butter and jelly sandwich you've ever had in your entire life.
Right.
But I want to feel and understand something about that moment, as opposed to what I see a lot of from people who start doing on-set work, and usually it's through student films or low-budget stuff, is what I see is documentation that proves that they were on a film set.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what you're there for.
Right.
You're there to find moments that bring the viewer into that place, even like for behind the scenes photos, so they feel like, oh, that's what it's like on set, as opposed to, oh, that's what's there on set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So know how to tell a story. That is my number one big, look, even look at all your rock and roll stuff. Okay. There's only so many ways you can shoot someone at a stand playing a guitar or something like that. But then you look for that little extra moment. It's a hand gesture, a facial thing. Find that moment that isn't just, hey, here's proof that I photographed so and so,
Right.
but something that says, here's this moment from the performance. I'm like, oh my God, that must have been an amazing show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, and that applies really to sort of any area of photography.
Yeah.
So that also, unfortunately, you got to kind of live near where they make stuff.
Yeah.
I get weird random emails from people in places where they don't shoot anything.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know
how
you're going to get into the film business in, I don't know, name a place, but I mean, where they don't shoot anything. So, you need to be willing to really relocate possibly.
Right.
Depending where you go, there are union issues. Some places it's easier to get in the union than in other places. There's a lot of hurdles.
Yeah.
So what I tell anybody is make sure this is really what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's really usually my take on it, is make sure that it's something that you actually really want to do.
Yeah.
One of the ways of finding out if it's what you want to do is find a local film school where you are. And when the director has to, someone has to shoot their thesis project, offer to go in and shoot stills.
Yeah. Yeah.
See if you like it.
Yeah. Around here in Seattle, there's an awful lot of independent films going on. And I've gotten to know quite a few directors and actors and things like that doing the portrait stuff that I'm doing. So I'm going to branch out into doing that to see how I feel about that. But doing things that I like doing and not doing things that I don't like doing, has always been key to what I do. Different people have said, can you shoot my baby? Can you shoot my kids? And I'm like, no, no. I'm not going to do it. I have no patience for that kind of thing. I don't have patience to do weddings or quinceañeras, things like that. Sit in front of sit on my stage and, do my thing with the portraits and stuff like that. And I'll get you a picture that, can show who you are in one picture. Right. And, and that's my goal. It's not just to say, okay, give me the blue steel look and I'll take your picture. I want to be able to see, and I want to be able to show someone by one picture who that individual is and what they were thinking at that certain time. And, the people that sit in front of me always laugh because I talk and talk and talk to them and, tell them to flirt and who's your favorite actor or singer or something like that. And that's who you're performing for in front of the camera. Okay. The guy that owns the Ferrari.
See, I'm terrible at all of that.
See,
I'm awful at that because my job is literally to not tell the actor what to do.
Right. Yeah, it's completely
like I don't tell anybody what to do. It's like I am awful at that.
Yeah. Well, those are professional actors, and the people that I shoot are not professional actors. They're starting out. So you're trying to draw out what the emotion is, and a professional actor that's been in it for a long time knows that's what you need to do. And I've shot several professional actors, and it's night and day. You don't have to tell them, okay, look this way or look that way, and that's the kind of fun part of doing that. Yeah.
No, and for example, like I don't do headshots because a lot, extras especially approach me like, hey, do you do headshots? I'm like, no. And I mean, what really made me absolutely decide, I tried in the beginning and it was always like, they were, they're not happy with it, whatever. I'm like, what are you talking about? These are perfectly good. And it's, and then I remember one actor said to me, he goes, hey, I love your unit work, blah, blah. I love you to do my headshots because, I've hired 11 photographers to do my headshots, and I've always hated them. And I'm like, I don't think you've hired 11 bad photographers. You're just never going to be happy with a headshot.
Right. Yep. Yeah. There's some of
And
those
so
people.
I just stay away.
Yep.
And I've got friends who are amazing headshot photographers. I'm like, here you go. Like, I got a good guy in Atlanta. I got a good guy in LA.
Right.
And like, yeah. And they love doing them, and they're very good at it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
I like doing the portrait stuff. I really enjoy doing it, and I also like doing the stuff on set, and I like doing that because that's what I've brought myself up as, is the fly on the wall. I kind of like doing that kind of stuff, and
Right.
it's fun. It's a lot of fun for me. But yeah, there are certain things that I won't shoot. I've got people who take pictures of landscapes and different designs of buildings, and they're fantastic at it. I wouldn't know the first thing about taking a picture of a building to make it look good if it could save my life.
No, it's actually really funny. If you go to like my Instagram, Hopper_Stone, thank you very much.
There you go.
No, but like, you'll see that a lot of stuff that I shoot that's not work related, weirdly enough, are like phone pictures of landscapes. Like everything I shot in Saudi Arabia was like phone pictures of landscapes. And it's basically because I'm not very good at it. And so it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Just to like, like, I'm not a landscape photographer. So when I do shoot a landscape, especially just with my phone, that's fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm just sort of it reminds me of being an enthusiast.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do that with people, and I've got a friend named James Kennedy, and he takes pictures of these things like Chernobyl and stuff like that. And I just look at him like, oh my God, that's unbelievable.
Right.
Because I could go to Chernobyl and I could take a picture of something and it would be like, yeah, that's, I have no,
that's Chernobyl
perception of what I'm trying to do with the landscape or anything like that. So I stick with people. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
and I'm very much like, when I travel, I do like, I'm a sucker for like doors and windows, especially in Europe and stuff like that. But I almost always wait for a person to walk through the frame.
Yeah.
Like, I need something in there,
right? Something in there. So I think it was you that was talking. You and I talked one time. I believe it was you, about the reflections. So tell us why you like doing that.
I don't know. Because it just adds. I will take the bait on reflections and negative space every single time. Nice. Small object, large space. I will always go in reflections. There's just something. I mean, if I had to get philosophical about it, like on a dime, I guess it's a little bit of like the physical and the metaphysical in the same. It's almost like you're seeing the person and their soul.
Right.
Because reflections it's a little fuzzy and it's detached from their body. It's somewhere.
Yeah.
And it adds a certain symmetry to things. So just framing wise, it's like the symmetry of it can be really, really fun.
Yeah.
But I will take the bait on a reflection every time. There was, on the movie Stuber, we're shooting this sort of action scene in a hotel room, and Karen Gillan played a cop, and she's like going through the hallway, kind of doing this thing, stepping over a dead body, and there was a reflection. So like, I don't remember. I think it was just like because it was a hotel, so it was just a window, kind of thing, and it was gorgeous. So I shot it. So whatever. I took the shot, and this is something I rarely do, but this DP was very approachable. His name was Bobby, and I just walked up to Bobby after the take, and I held up my camera. I go, Bobby, And he goes, yeah. And I simply held up the screen and I showed it to him, and then I walked away. And Bobby turns to the director and goes, Mike, I got one more shot for you. Which he gave me credit. No, he gave me credit for it.
Oh,
but
good.
I've done that a couple of times where like I see like a certain a reflection or just like something with the lines that I see that the movie camera wasn't getting that might serve the movie. And again, you got to read the room.
Yeah.
Some people are approachable about that. Some people are not.
Right.
So that's, again, something I do very sparingly. But yeah, reflection, it's something, first of all, it's an element for the, like, framing wise. Sometimes it's just something that helps fill that space that you might need.
Yeah.
It adds some symmetry. And yeah, on a certain sort of gut level, it's sort of like the physical and the metaphysical in one, thing.
Yeah. It's like matter and antimatter. It's just, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I find it pretty, although I have to say, I did see one movie where clearly either the director or the TP had the same obsession with reflections
that
I did. And in a constantly running movie, it was a little much.
Yeah.
Like I would have, don't get me wrong, I would have taken every one of those stills.
Right. But not the whole, yeah.
And the movie, it was a little, I can't remember which movie it was. It was like, it's a little much.
Yeah. Yeah. You're starting to get into, that movie Inception where
right.
Okay, what's going on here? I'm lost. What's going on?
Yeah. And it was a little superfluous. It didn't really add to the story. It was just pretty.
Right.
Where sometimes reflection, like, I mean, if you use it in live motion, there needs to be a reason for it. It needs to have a purpose. Otherwise, it just takes out of the movie and go, oh wow, pretty reflection.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the photographs are great, but live action is like, okay, there's too much going on here. So yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah. Hopper,
and that's the thing. A lot of filmmakers need to be careful about, like, not letting the cinematography become the story.
Right.
The story is the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Cinematography needs to support that.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. With the director of photography, do you find that you get along with them on set, or do you, is it something that adds to what you're doing? Do you have conversations with them about what they're going to be doing later in the shoot, to try to get a feel of what you're going to go for?
It depends on the DP, to be perfectly honest. Some DPs, see me as a fellow image maker.
Right.
And some of them see me as just someone who's stealing their vision.
Okay.
It's like, oh, the still photographer, they're just stealing my vision and all that. So it really depends very much. I try to, I try to be as collaborative as possible. I do like to talk to them, especially if there's going to be a color grading that is not obvious.
Okay.
And I always check, I always sort of, before we roll, I don't go to the DP. I just look on the focus monitor.
Yeah.
Where all the information is. I see what's the color temperature. I might look at their exposure. I usually can't shoot the same exposure, but I look at their exposure to see what they're doing and sort of compare it to mine and have an idea of, like, what are they? Because here's the thing, for the movie, it might serve the purpose for it to be 3 stops under, because that's creates that mood. However, in a still, it just doesn't work.
Right.
So I have to, that's probably the biggest or the finest line that I have to walk, is what honors the vision of the movie versus what will serve the needs of publicity.
Right.
Basically, if you can't see an actor's face, can't use the shot unless it's like a really cool silhouette and, or something like that. But basically, got to be able to see that. And if everything else goes 3 stops hot, then it goes 3 stops hot.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And I've gotten sometimes some pushback about that.
Yeah.
And
So,
I explained it. They go, look, I'll submit both, but just so you know, it's out of my hands once I hand it over to the studio, and they're going to want to see who this is.
yeah. So Hopper, your job is, like you were saying before, your job is to tell a story in a photograph. And the reason that your job is important to the film industry is that you can't show the entire film or parts of film during advertisements and things like that in different medias. Not different medias, but different ways of showing what's going on in the film to get people interested in going to the film. And you want to get everything, like you said, you want to tell a story with one photograph of the film that you're taking a picture of. So somebody will look at it and go, "Oh, that looks cool. Let's go see
that."
that."
Looks cool. Exactly. Let's go see that. That's exactly it. We are the unit photographer is where show meets business. Right? We're in show business.
Right.
And we are where show meets business. Because you can have the greatest show around, and if no one sees it, then you know, I've had a few different people sort of ask me, you know, what do you need a still photographer for anyway? So if it was like one crew, crew members say, yeah, why do we need still photographer? I said, I keep you all employed.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Movie does well, they're gonna, oh, you worked on that movie? Great, I want you on this one. And one actor, am I allowed to swear?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can say
Okay.
whatever you want.
One actor, he was a day playing actor on a cop show, and saw me there with my cameras, and he walks up to me, first thing out of his mouth, he looks at me and he goes, all right, tell me, what the fuck do you people do? Not, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck do you people do?
Yeah.
And I happened to be in a good mood.
Yeah.
And I looked him in the eye and I said, my job is to do my little part to make sure that your residual check is as large as possible. And he thought about it for a second, and he goes, oh, all right, well, do whatever the hell you want then. And he walked away and he left me alone.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're the silent salesman in films.
Basically.
Yeah. To get people, and we've all seen it. We've all seen pictures of films that are coming up or have been released, and you go through Netflix or whatever, and you see the photographs and you go, let's watch that. That's the one I want to watch, because this one doesn't look entertaining at all. This one captures my imagination. Let's watch that. And that's what your job is. Yeah.
And even if you're going through, a series, and then like each episode on the streaming platforms has a photo that like represents that episode.
Right.
That sort of thing. So no, it's really funny actually. The internet and social media has actually increased our workload exponentially.
Wow.
Because back in the day, especially when we shot film, it's like, all right, it's magazines and newspapers, right? So you shot, and then at the end, the studio make a press kit, which was usually 2 sheets of slides, so that'd be 40 slides, and 5 or 8 black and white prints, and some liner notes.
Right.
And they would send those out to all the different publications, and that's where they would pull their photos from the press kit. And then digital came along, so they started making digital press kits. And then the internet came along, and social media and blogs and online magazines and all that. And I mean, it's this never-ending maw, and everybody wants something a little exclusive.
Right.
So if anything, like, it's created even more work.
Good. Well, it's good to hear. So, I mean, the conversation that you and I have had today has been enlightening for me. And like I said, if it doesn't touch anybody
Oh,
else
God.
that used it, I've gotten an awful lot from it. And I really, really appreciate your time, Hopper. And thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you back here in Seattle again when you come back through at some point.
I
And
hope
you
so.
and I can get together, and I'll buy you lunch somewhere downtown, and you and I will probably end up being great friends and have a great conversation. So
It sounds like that sounds like a very reasonable plan.
nice.
Yes, once, well, yeah, as I call it, ATP, after the plague,
That's right.
when when in-store events start going up again and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was on a really good roll with Sony
Yeah.
for a while. Like, they were like bring me into events to talk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, the plague hit.
Yep. Then it all
So
went away.
who
Yep.
who knows what the future of that is?
Who knows? But we'll figure, we'll wind our way through it and get through it somehow. So yeah, I hope for the best. I don't know what's going to happen, but I hope for the best. So it seems to
Me
be,
too.
who knows what the hell's going to happen, but we'll all figure it out when we get there. So like David Lee Roth used to say,
Absolutely.
we may be lost, but we're way ahead of schedule.
Oh, I like that.
That's right.
I like that a lot. I'm stealing that.
That's from
I'm totally
David Lee
stealing
Roth.
that.
Yep.
That applies to Set.
That's
That
right.
totally applies to Set.
We
That
may
would have
be
been really
lost.
good on my last movie, actually. On the
There
one
you
in Saudi
go.
Arabia. Like, might be lost, but we're way ahead of schedule.
There you go. So David Lee Roth just gave you a quote, so you can have that. So I really appreciate your time, Hopper, and I love your work. Please
Thank
keep
you.
it up, and let me know when you're in town, and you and I'll keep in touch.
Will do. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.